And how do you think things have changed in the past 14 years?
You know, things have changed wonderfully, remarkably. So over here in North Carolina, and especially in this, I'm going to speak for the Triangle area because that's the one that I'm most familiar with, Triangle and the surrounding Triad areas. You know, we've had so many musicians move in. We've had vocalists, instrumentalists, percussionists, you know, instruments that I thought that I would only find in India. I now find artists who are playing those instruments over here. So it's been wonderful because you suddenly have this sort of wonderful performing structure for you. And at the same time, we have a lot of venues and we have a wide audience of people who are ready to accept, you know, the music that you're making. And to me, you need both. Because once you have, you know, the community has played a wonderful role in sort of being there and supporting your music, supporting your journey as a person, supporting it as an artist, encouraging you, giving you these opportunities, watching you grow, watching you hone your art. You know, just as musicians, as artists, every one of us is on a journey. And it's an individualized journey. And the role of the community is so important in making sure that you have the enthusiasm to continue that journey. Even though it is an inner enthusiasm at the end of the day, it just makes it easier when you have a community that's supportive of your journey and that finds joy in the fact that you are making this music. So in terms of that, it's been a wonderful change. It was a smaller community before. It's just grown by leaps and bounds now. We had, you know, just a handful of musicians at that time. Now we have musicians, as I said, percussionists, instrumentalists. We have dancers who use our music. It's been a wonderful, wonderful growth over here.
Great. So one of the groups that you're involved with is the North Carolina Revival.
Yes.
And can you tell us a little bit about that group?
Sure. So the Raga Revival, when I first, you know, heard about them, the idea of Raga Revival really appealed to me because it was sort of, again, one of these things where they present this sort of formalized presentation venue, but at the same time, you know, the audiences that come to attend these presentations. See, a lot of times when I sing, I mainly sing to the South Indian diaspora, not even South Asian, South Indian diaspora. We have, you know, the North Indian form of music, which typically, you know, Hindustani music, which appeals, which has a wider audience with more of people from the northern part of India. And music from South India definitely finds, you know, its home more among South Indians. So when I first heard of Raga Revival and I went and I actually attended one of their presentations, what I really loved about it was the fact that it was not confined to a particular diaspora. There was people from everywhere. It was almost like they were just there for the music. Never mind which part of the world the music was from, you know, never mind which part of the world you were from. And they were just there for the music, to appreciate the music, to learn. And then they had a jam session at the end of it, which to me was beautiful because other musicians came with their instruments and they had been listening to what the presentation was and they found this common synergy, which that's a beautiful thing to watch because it's a very organic growth that has come up. So that's how I first got introduced to Raga Revival. Was, you know, Vishwas very kindly had invited me for one and he said, come and see what we do. And then saw that and then he said, would you like to perform for us? And I was like, yes, absolutely. This is a great place, you know, to showcase my music. And so that's kind of how I got in touch with them. And since then it's been a beautiful relationship, you know, on and off. I've performed regularly at Raga Revival. And as I said, what I really like about it is the fact that it gives you the ability to sort of try out new things. Because a lot of times when we are classical musicians, I feel like, you know, we have certain, whether it's grammatical boundaries, whether it's, you know, these boundaries that we have these boundaries that we have to go by. And not that we don't sort of go by these when we present at Raga Revival, but it just gives you the opportunity personally to push these boundaries and say, you know, what can I do differently today? How did I grow as a musician? Which is different than for somebody else as a musician in their journey. But the fact that you can try these new things, for me, what are new things, is what makes it very exciting for me.
Right. And what is it about this organization that allows this type of experimentation and broader appeal than the other things that you're working in?
Sure. I think, you know, honestly, I think it's the credit should probably go to Vishwas, who sort of had this vision for Raleigh Raga Revival. And due apologies to him if it was not his vision, but I think that's what it was. At least it's what I see as his vision, which is to be very inclusive of all the different types of music that is coming out. You know, there's whether you're an instrumentalist, whether you're a percussionist, you know, and there's always, if I say, Vishwas, I'm going to try this, he's always up and open, and he's like, yeah, let's try it. So in December, for the first time, we presented a Jugalbandi, which is where we have both Hindustani, the North Indian classical music, and the South Indian classical music coming together. And when it was, you know, when we first talked about it, he was like, yes, we have to find a time to get you guys together, because this is something that would appeal to, you know, a broad range of people, and it'll be very interesting for people to see this interplay, because even though both these forms of music are from India, most of the times they're performed separately. So to have us come together as a cohesive group, and it's not just slapping it where you say, well, I'm going to sing my thing and you sing your thing. No, there's a way that you have to sort of synergistically bring these two together. So he was very enthusiastic about it right off the bat, and he was like, yes. And you know, as a musician, that's all that you need is somebody who's just as enthusiastic about the music that you are. So I think a big part of the credit goes to Vishwas and his wife and the entire family that's there, sort of giving this this opportunity for multiple musicians to come together to just try different things, to without the fear of, you know, hey, this is my vision for you. He doesn't have that. It's, you want to create a vision, go for it. You know, that freedom is what I love about it.
Mm-hmm. Great. So you performed this concert that you just...
Correct. We
so
did.
Can you discuss the process a little bit? Like, what was it working with North Indian musicians?
Yes,
for the first time?
absolutely.
I don't know. Is that your first time? Or?
No, I had done this before, but it had been a while. And again, you know, what happens with Raleigh Raga Revival is because we have these musicians that keep coming and performing, we get a chance to observe all these different kind of musicians. And you find somebody who you think would be a good fit for you to perform with. And so one of the times when we had talked about, when I had gone and I'd heard, you know, my counterpart Hindustani musician who had performed, it almost seemed like a natural fit that we should come together. So the first thing was, you know, calling her up and saying, hey, what do you think about, you know, having this concert where we're presenting both styles of music synergistically? And so the first thing was even for us to see whether we would, apart from the fact that it was in our heads to mesh together, you actually have to see if it will happen. You know, do voices match? Does the pitch match? Do our styles match? That sort of thing. So once we had figured that out, then I think, you know, it was a process of us both working together, sort of finding common grounds. What is a common, you know, what is a tune? What is a common melody? What we call raga, which is the melody. What is the melodic structure that we would use? Because they have to either be the same melodic structure or they have to be things which are synchronous with each other. So we ended up picking a raga which was the same in both Hindustani music and Carnatic music. Of course, the way the exposition is done is different, but the melodic notes are the same, but the exposition is different. And then she came with her set of musicians, you know, a percussionist and an instrumentalist, and I had my instrumentalist and percussionist. And then it was sort of trying to see how we can synergistically meld all of these together. So once we both as vocalists had our ideas down as to how it made sense, what is the rhythm structure that we use? Because obviously, if I pick an 8-beat rhythm structure, she cannot pick a 6-beat rhythm structure, right? There have to be things where they will flow together. the type of composition that we pick, the gait of the composition, the weight of the composition. So all of these things have come into play when we pick something where we're presenting it as a synchronous presentation, as opposed to, if I were to just present something on my own. Mm-hmm. So.
Right. Can you talk about what were some of the conversations that you had or thought processes as you were going through these rehearsals?
I think the biggest thought process that we, sort of had was, one, making sure that we were able to have a harmonious presentation of Carnatic music and Hindustani music, but without losing the individualistic flavor of the two. That was the biggest, that was always in the forefront of any conversation that we had, was making sure that it was a harmonious presentation, but still retaining the individual flavor of each of these presentations. And I think that's what is beautiful about, when you bring two styles of music, or even in your own music when you're presenting it, how do you make sure that you have a harmonious presentation? Even if it's just between me and my South Indian percussionist and my South Indian instrumentalist, making sure that the three of us are presenting a harmonious presentation. And obviously there's an additional complication when you bring in yet another genre of music coming in, to see how you can meld it all together. We do have lots of examples of people that have done it successfully in India. It's been going on for quite some time, but they're all very top class vocalists, and it's always a dream that you sort of look forward to and say, is this something that I could do? Mm-hmm. And the nice part is, we have a wonderful structure here where we are able to do that, both in terms of the performing artists, as well as a venue, as well as the audience that is receptive to these sort of things. Mm-hmm. So.
Great. Was your group the only group that was in this concert, or were there other groups?
In this particular concert, it was only our group, okay. And I think at the end it was followed. I take that back. I think there was there was another group that presented at the end of it. They had again, it was a coming together of a mridangam and another instrument. It was a long instrument. I forget what it was. An Australian instrument of some kind. I forget what it was.
Didgeridoo?
Yes, that's the one. So just like we had brought together two styles of music, they brought together two styles of, I guess, percussion, or two instruments that you normally wouldn't think of going together. So it was, yeah.
Do you feel that they take a similar approach in terms of presenting a harmonious presence, or do you think they did a different approach?
No, I think theirs was also pretty, so the thing is, ours was more of a melodic based presentation. Mm-hmm. And I think theirs was more a percussive-based presentation, but beautiful in its own way, because again, they were able to sort of, you take in all of our South Indian, percussive structure, and then you have this unrelated instrument, and you're like, how in the world would they be able to sort of bring these two together? So I think it was very harmoniously done from a percussive standpoint, and that's just because, the melodic was not something that was a part of their presentation. Mm-hmm. Whereas ours had more of a melodic as well as the percussive component to it.
Right.